Our fantastic, dare I say, series of stash episodes here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball continues today with my good friend Alex Rikleen, who will be joining us in about 90 seconds on the program. And that 90 seconds is exactly enough time for me to welcome you to the show. Hi, I'm Dan, at Dan Besbris on Twitter, DanBesbris, Old Man Squad over on Blue Sky. You guys don't care about Instagram. I don't know why I keep promoting that one. That's idiotic. Hit that like button as you're settling in. Please do subscribe to the website, to the feed, whatever, however you're taking in the content. And if you have an opportunity on iTunes or Spotify to put that 5-star review, that is also super duper helpful. And a big thank you to our continued partnership with Bet Online. I can't believe that we've come this far. It's amazing. They are the reason that we're able to do everything that we can do here. So check them out. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. That's ranging from football to basketball, college level, pro level, NHL, UFC. They've got it all. BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for your new year. So you know it. We'll say it. BetOnline. The game starts here. I've asked all of our guests that are coming on the show over the next week and a half to bring with them a handful of potential stash candidates, whether that's trade deadline, silly season, second half, whatever. And that's what we're going to do again here today. So without further ado, we welcome my good friend, Alex Rikleen. There he is, that handsome devil. He's back on the program. He is at Rikleen on Blue Sky. Alex, good sir. How are your bowel movements today? I had to do it.
Well, they could be smoother, but they're okay.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the, I think it's called like the Bristol-Myers Squibb score?
Yeah.
Yeah? No, that's not right. Bristol-Myers is a pharmaceutical company. Is it just the Bristol
Breyer's
scale?
Mig. Breyer's Trig, Breyer's Mig.
I found it. It's the Bristol stool scale.
Oh no, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to share that page on the YouTube video. I was thinking about throwing up the page. Everybody out there, do your own Googling on this one. It's called the Bristol stool scale, and it's what all of our mothers have wanted to know about us our entire lives. Alex has some stashes.
Great.
We're gonna steer hard away from bowel movements and back into fantasy basketball. First of all, hi. Second of all, everybody knows how this works by now. When we have a guest on the show, the guest is in control. You've got the wheel in your hands. The throttle is at your command. Where would you like to go first? Who are you looking at for second half, deadline, silly season, whatever?
So I was charged with like pre-trade deadline stashes. So I found the jersey I have of my most traded player to get me in ready. So I got my James Harden Brooklyn jersey. Which
there you go.
I definitely got for 20% off after he had been traded because that was when it was funniest to purchase. And
I love it. I love a good deal.
And so, all right, these are players who we are acquiring now. These are my assumptions going in, that we are acquiring them now. I am assuming that we are not relying on them over the next 2 weeks to do heavy lifting. We can afford for them to be potentially low producing over that time span.
Yeah.
And also, I'm presuming that we're dealing with players who are available. So right off the bat, I want to rattle off some names that I viewed as ineligible. And if I viewed these names as eligible, they would be my pick. But I said, these guys are too widely rostered for us to discuss. Tari Eason, Kyle Ware, my firstborn baby child, Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Collier. I guess he's my second born. Trey Murphy, my guess. Yeah,
Collier. I think Collier would qualify if you wanted to put him on the list.
You think Collier qualifies? Okay, then I'll drop him down a list and we can bring him down and talk about him later. His roster rate has been climbing, but we can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still
So
low enough. He's only at like 17 on Yahoo, which I think is probably low enough.
Oh, okay. So Eason, Ware, Ausar, Sensabaugh, Nick Smith, Tamani Kamara, Zach Edey, Donovan Clingan. I viewed all of them as widely rostered enough that they didn't count.
Okay.
I think all of those.
Premise accepted.
Okay.
Honestly, here's the beauty of it is like whether or not that premise is accepted, you're still giving people names to look at. Like,
yeah,
some folks watching, those guys might be available. So, kick the tires, see where they're at.
Right. You and I are not going to dive in on those names. Prioritize those names above the names that we're going to talk about.
Right.
If those names are available, get them first. Honorable mention, real quick, Max Strus, super boring. But if the Cavs don't make a deal at the trade deadline, he was startable all last year as their fifth starter. He's still sort of working his way back from injury. If he reclaims that fifth starter spot pretty soon, which he might, then he's probably going to be a pretty solid guy. He might not. Kind of boring though, so skip him. Another honorable mention, Anthony Black. I'm just enticed by him. I can't put my heart behind, like fully endorse him, but I am like super enticed by him, but I can't endorse him above some of the other names. So I just wanted to like throw him out there as like, I'm intrigued, but all right. So those are some names that I've acknowledged so that we can go on. All right. Is Bilal Coulibaly too widely rostered? Is he eligible here?
Honest to goodness, I don't care what criteria you have on this one. I think they're really I think they're all interesting for different reasons. People have heavily abandoned ship on him because of how bad he's played for long stretches this year. So
yeah,
literally any of these names, with maybe the exception of Ware, I think we could have talked about. Ware's been he's taken off like a rocket. He's rostered basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Almost every other name you've mentioned, someone has dropped them in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So you can quite literally go any direction you want on this.
Don't drop Tari Eason. Don't do that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Not Tari Eason. Well, I mean, people did because he was out.
People did while he was hurt, but now he's back. Don't do that. Right. All right. I mean, Bilal Coulibaly, second year, Wizards are terrible. I mean, yeah, he's shooting 15% from 3 over the last 3 weeks.
Oops.
Is
that bad?
I think it's bad. Yeah. But it's not deterring his attempts. It's not deterring his ability to get run. He can pass, he can steal. If the goal is someone who can get you some volume down the stretch, I do think Bilal Coulibaly is a name that really could work. Also, super fun to say. Like, that counts for something, doesn't it? Fantasy's supposed to be fun. Like, when you're having these conversations with your friends, when you run into them at the Super Bowl party, you're gonna like being able to talk to them about the fact that you added Bilal Coulibaly. Definitely a say the whole name every time kind of guy.
By the way, ulterior motive on this one. He was on my list of favorite stashes, and as I said it, a lot of the comment section. So I'm going to ask you this question because I know how I responded to it was, Dan, he's already getting a ton of run. What do you think is going to be better after the trade deadline? So, Alex, I'll pass that on to you.
It's a great question. I would assume that an NBA player doesn't continue to average 15% from 3, and that's sort of a slump. And a sincere answer is the deeper you go, the less teams try against the bottom of the barrel.
Very true.
Teams will. It's already sort of starting, but it will really kick in late February and March, where teams will see Washington on the schedule and they will view it as an off night, and they will just not come with defensive intensity at all. It's just the reality. Unfortunate though it may be. And so sincerely, I think he's going to get less defensive attention, even if the Wizards don't really change anything. And that makes it easier to shoot if the defense you're facing is easier. And I do think that there is a meaningful difference between the defense that a bad team faces in the first half of the year versus the second half of the year. So maybe that's a weak answer, but that is an answer.
No, it's very true. I mean, you see it every year, the February, March, April run of players that are not actually all that great at fantasy stats. And all of a sudden they're just putting up these huge numbers. I would also add that in my answer to that question was Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, if they're not in the way anymore, his minutes might not change, but it would dramatically change touches when someone like Bilal is on the floor. So there's just a lot of different ways that things can improve. But yes, I mean,
and
also number one is like guys
20.
don't shoot 15. Yes, he's also a kid.
Like
he's a baby.
20-year-olds get better. Like, so there are a couple of things that could happen for him. Another one to like, this probably should have thrown him in the honorable mention is Cason Wallace. Just his minutes have really increased lately, but it's not really a silly season setup. The Thunder have so much to compete for, and so I don't know what would change. He did have a run where his field goal attempts sort of went up a little bit, and his scoring went up a little bit, and his minutes have gone up. And we could continue to see those elevated minutes going forward. And, again, we're talking about a 21-year-old in his second year. We could continue to see improvement. I don't know. I think I've got better names coming than Cason Wallace.
Okay, fair enough.
But he's another one that I kind of want to mention. Here's one that's more a little bit out there, but and might not happen at all, but one that I really like. What about our little string bean out in Chicago, Buzelis?
What about him? Is it time for the Bulls to finally embrace the youth?
I mean, Pat Williams is just, it's not happening. He's paid fairly, so his contract is tradable if that happens, and he's paid fairly for a sixth man role. So like they could just bench him and start playing Buzelis over him just because, if they do end up trading Zach LaVine and weakening the roster, which they might not do. The Bulls are weird.
Please, Bulls, just do the thing, please.
They might not do it. It's important to note the Bulls, there's no guarantee the Bulls are sellers at all.
They're so bad, though. Just please. They're 19-27. They're a game up on the Sixers, who haven't had any of their players this year. Just let it go, Bulls.
They're going to make the play-in tournament.
I'm not even a Bulls fan. I mean, well, Alex, a number of the analysts in the fantasy space happen to be Bulls fans, and they're all very, very disgruntled human beings right now, and I can't blame them. This is idiotic. Stop charging for the 10 seed.
Hold on. Do the Bulls have the best player in the play-in race? Let's assume the Magic pass the Pistons. Assume no trade and the Magic pass the Pistons so that the play-in is Pistons, Heat, Hawks, Bulls.
No.
The way that Zach LaVine has been playing, is Zach LaVine playing better than Trae Young? Jalen Johnson's hurt. Do the Bulls have the most talented player in the play-in race?
Jimmy
Butler's on the sidelines.
It doesn't matter though. They're bad. They're terrible.
One game having the best player. It could make the playoffs, buddy.
Gross. Sell them off, Bulls. Please. Not even just for Buzelis. Just like I could care less if every one of our stash guys hits. Just let it go, Bulls.
Regardless, my point being, Whether they sell Levine and tank, or they keep Levine, try to stay in the play-in race, and just decide, hey, like maybe Pat Williams works best as a sixth man, and let's see if Buzelis can handle a bigger role. I think that there are, in either case, there is a conceivable path to Buzelis making the jump from, what he's currently at, in the like mid-teens for minutes to up into the mid-20s or even higher. And there's some amount of promise there. He's got some ability to score. He's got some shooting touch. He can block some shots. There's some promise there. It's probably more of a deep league stash, but a more interesting name you might not hear.
Yeah, that's definitely one that hasn't come up, and I know the Bulls fans would desperately hope that you're right. Who's your third interesting kind of deeper name here? By the way, I've written down all of your I disqualified these guys as well. I'm gonna try to keep full lists because I think it'll be really fun to see if any from all of us, because we're like, there's a little bit of a dart throwing element to this stuff, but it's also like after draft season, this is kind of the great unknown part of the year, and so this is fun. We should be enjoying ourselves.
And it helps that I'm naming 17 people. That really increases my odds of hitting.
Listen, a shotgun works too. Yeah.
I can't quit Kyle Filipowski. I mean, he's the real. If we have a minute to keep going, I can talk about Collier or Stefan Castle. But
before you tell me,
three names that I came in wanting to talk about, Filipowski was like the one I really wanted to hit.
Okay, so before we get to Filipowski, Alex, what are you working on these days? Promo time. Hit me. I'm going to make your face a little bigger on the screen, too, so people know that they can check out that social media handle and that Punham. The Punham.
Weekly waiver wire article on RotoWire and CBS.com. That is the main outlet for my fantasy thoughts and feelings. Putting stuff up on Blue Sky, and I'll be back here to talk to you next week.
Yes, trade deadline live show. It's the best.
Yeah. Everything else I'm doing is hidden in the shadows and mystery.
Yes.
But yeah, those are the main things I'm doing these days. So check those out. Yeah, reach out, ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them.
Bother him. Rikleen. Let's talk about Kyle Filipowski. What do you want everybody to know? Why is he the guy you can't quit?
I really like his pro. So first of all, the Jazz are one of the most aggressive tanks we've seen in a long time. I haven't updated the numbers in the last week, but when I was putting together the list like 8 days ago or something, it was John Collins had missed like 13 out of 14. Keontae George had missed 12 out of 14. Colin Sexton had missed like they're staggering their absences. People are missing for illness. They're missing they're resting 22-year-old Walker Kessler.
He's tired, man.
On his only game in a 5-night span. This is some of the most aggressive tanking that we have seen in years. It is truly shocking. It says something about how much the NBA doesn't care about what happens in Utah, that they haven't been fined for it, because it is egregious and a pretty obvious violation of their policies that they have put into place on this, and that they have fined other teams for. Actually, Barner, I think you're talking to him later today. He's the one who I think pointed that out to me. And he's totally right. It's ridiculous that they haven't been fined for this. But they're doing it, and no one's fining them. They're just, it's happening. John Collins is sick tonight, I think, after missing games for whatever other fake injuries he's got.
Yeah, we're all sick.
The only game that they had all of their let's call them starters from early in the season, was a game in Oklahoma City where they weren't going to win anyway. So they're like, oh, we have an opportunity to practice with our whole team, maybe showcase for a trade. We're going to lose anyways. And then everyone played, and then everyone's back to the sideline for the next game. It is absurd. So they're tanking. There is a high probability of a Collins and or Kessler trade, and or one or both getting shut down. And Filipowski's numbers in the games where he gets minutes are pretty good. So when he plays 24 minutes a night, not a ton. So it averages to 28 minutes a game. So just taking the set where he averages 28 minutes a game, 10, 7, and 3 with 1 steal. He can shoot threes. He got a lot of blocks in college. I don't know why he's not blocking in the pros, but I assume that that's going to come at some point. He really doesn't have many this year, but I do expect that to come. The fact that he is getting assists as a center, I find enticing. I think that there's a lot of talent. I think it's a very fantasy friendly game. And the only question is the minutes. And with the Jazz tanking so aggressively, I feel like that there's a lot of possibility for minutes to come, especially after the trade deadline.
Is there, Alex, is there a particular set of guys you'd want to see? Like if someone is, because you've gone into some names, which I love this, by the way, you've gone into some names on today's show that are a little bit farther down the pecking order. They strike me a little bit maybe more as ones that folks could watch on trade deadline morning and then act on. Because I don't think you probably don't have to fight with someone for Kyle Filipowski on the wire right now, but you kind of want to be ready for the right puzzle pieces, right, to fit together on trade deadline morning. So what are you looking to see happen to let him sort of uncork a little bit? Because his minutes have been a little all over the map also.
All over the place. A Kessler deal would be like
so Walker.
Because Collins has missed a lot of games as is, and they probably won't. If they don't trade Collins, I would expect them to be willing to shut him down, find an excuse to shut him down anyway. Whereas Kessler, they have sat him out for some games, but they've been a little bit less aggressive about resting him, which makes sense because he's younger. And it's a little bit harder to get away with. If they do in fact deal Walker Kessler, that would be to me let's add Kyle Filipowski in the 12-team league move. If they deal Collins, that definitely helps Filipowski. But it still does depend on your league because Collins has missed so many games and Filipowski is still, with Collins out, what did I say? Like 12 of the last 14, Filipowski is still a borderline player. So trading Collins isn't actually a big change from where we've been in the last 2 weeks. So Kessler would be the real trigger if that happens. A Kessler injury I should put in scare quotes. Or trade. That would be the big one to me.
Whoops, I messed that up. Wait a minute, I can do this. There we go. I fixed the screen. Technologically.
It's all right.
Yeah, fighting my way through it. Alex, my man, thank you so much. You are officially off the hot seat. I will do a full recap after you are back to your merry day, your merry way. I'm sorry, I'm not sleeping all that great these days. Someone in this household is perpetually ill. It's that part of the calendar year again. But you have younglings, so now Actually, the last time you and I talked, you'd been sick for 3.5 straight weeks, and so
it was more than that.
Was
I
it 4?
I don't remember. More. It ended up being 6 weeks out of 7.
Oh my God!
It was great.
Sounds great.
My doctor was like, my primary care was like, well, sincerely, what is happening? You're like relatively young. You run half marathons. Like you're a healthy person. Why do I keep seeing you?
Like,
And I was like, that's why what I would like you to tell me.
yeah, please. Called
Um,
having a kid. This was like my good buddy Brandon Marcus, who's been on the show a few times. There was one year, I think it was a number of years ago. I think it was when our older son was in preschool, so it was probably like 5 years ago, where every single week he came on Wednesdays, and every Wednesday I was sick for probably 5 or 6 consecutive Wednesdays, and he was just like, "Are you okay? Are you dying?" And I was like, "Honest to God, I couldn't tell you even if I was. I'm pretty sure it's just that kids are petri dishes, and
they absolutely
this,
are.
this time of year. And now everybody in Los Angeles is indoors because of the fire stuff. So like
Sense.
they've pulled the petri dish into tight quarters with one another. Everything was great when they could run around outside. Anyway, it rained here, so now maybe they can go back outside again. We'll see. In any event, not the point.
Yeah.
I am the sinusy one, and you are
Yeah, I'm
healthy as a
actually
horse.
doing okay today.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. Everybody find Alex on Blue Sky at Rikleen, my toilet pal. Thank you so much. As always,
good to have a brand. It's good. It's good to have a brand.
Toilet Pals. At some point, you and I are going to start a show just called Toilet Pals, and I don't know what I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but it's going to be great. I'll talk to you on the 6th in the morning.
My afternoon.
Oh, your afternoon, my morning, right? Oh no, I guess it's my afternoon too, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're at exactly
your
Pacific.
noon.
Yeah, my noon. All right, I'll talk to you at lunchtime on trade deadline morning. I can do this.
See you soon. Have a nice day.
And that was, of course, the marvelous Alex Rikleen, who brought up, I'm going to go through all the names. The ones we talked about were Bilal Coulibaly, Matas Buzelis, and Kyle Filipowski. He also self-regulated and took a bunch of names off the board that I think he actually probably could have talked about. The only ones that he took off that I thought did belong off the board were Khalil Ware and then Tari Eason, again, who's healthy again, so he's an ad. But like, I think he could have talked about Ausar Thompson, Isaiah Collier, Nick Smith Jr., Brice Sensabaugh, Donovan Clingan, maybe not Zach Edey, but also maybe Zach Edey. He mentioned Cason, Wallace, and Max Strus as not really like stash types, but like if you need a low-end kind of boring guy post-deadline. But ultimately, I think like a lot of those names we probably could have discussed. And frankly, if Tobias Harris plays tonight, Ausar Thompson probably ends up back on waiver wires again also. So a lot of really good names from Rikleen. I'll make a thumbnail that highlights one of the guys that we talked about a little bit more, but big fat list to add to the board. Again, I'm going to be writing all this stuff down. I think it's going to be really fun to see if any of us nail the guys that we picked out, because like if we get it, that's so much fun. It's so much fun to hit these, and you have to be so judicious with your stash spots. You really can only pick like one if it's a sort of a low productivity guy, someone who's not doing much right now. You could maybe add another one or two if you got like what we call the active stashes. Those are the easy ones to do. But anyway, many more of these shows coming, by the way. This was only number 2 out of a bunch. And on the way out here, I want to remind you guys to hang out with our buddies over at UnderdogFantasy.com. UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code OLDMAN when you sign up, and that'll unlock a 50% deposit match bonus up to $1,000 and a free play, which tonight, by the way, is Kevin Durant scores 1 point. That's the free play tonight. By the way, not surprisingly, the Patrick Mahomes gets 1 yard free play from over the weekend. That one hit. So you can sign up now, get the KD free play going, mix and match with the rest of your card. I know that our buddy Brendan Eckersley from Snack Size DFS really likes Malik Monk tonight. So maybe you pair up Kevin Durant's freebie with a Malik Monk higher play on your pick'em board for Underdog Fantasy and let her rip. Or maybe you go big. Maybe you add a few other names to the board. Again, you can sign up today using the link in the show description. That has the promo code built into it, or you can just type in old man at the promo code window. That unlocks the deposit match bonus and the free play. So that way, when you get started with a bang. There's absolutely no reason not to do that. You don't want to give up on the free play. It helps your odds. It's like it gets you halfway to a win right out of the chute. And the deposit match, like, you don't do that, you're just leaving cash on the table, which is beyond idiotic. Don't be an idiot. That's my promo for our buddies over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Thank you to Alex Rikleen as we wrap this thing up. Hey, if you made it to this part of the show, you know the rule. You have to subscribe. That's the rule. If you make it to the end, you got to subscribe. Hit that like button on the way out. Like our trade deadline live show. That's airing, remember, on February 6th. We're running basically the entire morning into the after the deadline kicks. We're up to 642 pre-likes on that show. I want to get to 750 before we launch on trade deadline morning. So come hang out with that one as well. And that brings us to the end of the program. I'm at Dan Vespers on Twitter, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky. Follow me over there. Hit all those buttons we talked about on the way out. We'll see you soon. Next Stash episode coming up later on today. It's a beautiful thing, baby. Oh, you know what? No recap show today. I should mention that as well because there was only one game on Sunday. Now I'm out.